I'm going to move just to another 2 or 3 questions. Now, I'm going to go to the top corner and then come down to the front and then go back up there. And look, we've got lots of time, so everybody hopefully will get a chance. So, top corner.
My name is and convener and chair of a group called Education, Equality and Development. I want to thank my colleagues who are in the room for what is obviously a very fantastic, wonderful project, and applaud you on your great work here, all of you. My question, and I want to just preface it with a caveat by saying I'm really grateful there's a lawyer on this panel, primarily because my question is really about evidence. So there's a lot of talk about evidence in relationship to what works, and I think that's fantastic. But I also wonder whether or not we need evidence from other arenas of social conflict. So, for example, policing, paramilitary, communities, securitization, those kinds of topics are very powerful, timely topics in the contemporary context. And do those areas or arenas of community matter in relationship to moving forward and building evidence, bodies of evidence that work together to achieve goals, particularly around questions of militarization and masculinity?
Miranda Curtis, Chair of the Board of Trustees of CAMFED. My question is for Pauline. Clearly, as CAMFED, we're thrilled to be entering into this very exciting partnership in terms of the establishment and the launch of the Real Centre. My question is really about the longer term. As your main research themes start to develop and as you start to publish, can you speak a little bit to how you expect the data that you're generating to be used? What range of stakeholders will be involved? What do you expect the long-term impact of the organisation to be?
Thanks. And just final one for now, just at the back there.
Munaza Aslam, and I'm from the University of Oxford. My question is more generally to Pauline and to the others. I mean, I think I'm a very great advocate of evidence, and I do believe very strongly in that. But I recently was in Pakistan, a country that I work very closely on, and I was presenting on the use and the need for evidence to be generated, and I got several questions back saying that for evidence to be truly transformative, it needs to actually translate into policy at the national level. And that is where the problem really happens. We may be doing all kinds of evidence-based research, but if it doesn't actually translate into policy, and then there is some kind of will from at the national level, it's really not going to be transformative. What is the Real Centre going to do about that? And do you intend to do anything about that at all? Thank you.
Okay. So 3 very good questions there about the impact of the research. I mean, I'm not sure, Pauline, you're probably on the hook for at least 1 or 2 of them. Do you want to kick off? Or?
Sure. I think sort of bringing those last 2 together in particular, because I think they link. I think that, as researchers, we have the hopefully the ability, but also the responsibility to deliver high quality research. And that high quality research needs to be presented in a way that is technically rigorous, but also can reach wider audiences. And I think this is partly sort of bringing in my experience from the Education for All Global Monitoring Report. We would draw on sort of a really wide range of research from a number of experts, including many of you in the audience here, but it would need to be presented in a way that we knew policymakers would read, would react to, maybe sometimes disagree with. That was always good. We thought it was a good sign when the minister in Nigeria questioned the data because he didn't like the fact that we were saying that in the north of Nigeria, poor rural girls were spending less than 2 years in school. And we could say, well, actually, these data are from your own household survey and we can back that up. So it's about that interaction that we need to, it's the way, I think as researchers, we need to go beyond sort of only the technical, high quality academic outputs which we need to do, but also to find other ways of disseminating it. But as I mentioned, I don't think that we can actually do it on our own. We can only do it if we work with others. And in Pakistan, Manaza, as you know, we've been working together with yourself and with a really important NGO that works on the Annual Status for Education report, ASA, in Pakistan, which, like, there's another, which the initiator of this was in India. There's also similar surveys that are undertaken in parts of East Africa. And these NGOs that have been really working on the ground to collect data to show how few children are learning. So sort of linking with what Lucy was saying earlier, maybe a little bit, I would say that we really do need to start by focusing on the foundation skills. In parts of Pakistan and India, amongst the poorest, fewer than 10% of girls are actually learning the basics, the very basics. So they've spent a full cycle in primary school and they still haven't learned what they should have learned after being in 2 years in school. Now, when you present policymakers with that type of evidence, they can't ignore it. It's about how you present it. You need to present it also, not in a confrontational way, and I think this is how ASA and Pakistan has worked together so well. So it's about getting that coalition of researchers, of the policymakers, and of the NGOs and others who are working on the ground. And this is why I think also our partnership with CAMFED will be so important in already building on the strong experience
And
that
Pauline,
CAMFED has.
just the question at the back was about, drawing on the experiences and research in relation to those experiences from other sort of sectors that aren't necessarily education. Have you thoughts on that? Or?
Well, I guess Joe is sort of part of our bigger family in terms of working on education in some of the sort of, in both in sort of rich countries as well as in countries like in South Africa. I think it really relates. We need to work across sectors, definitely. Okay. I mean, I think securitisation is one. I think, for me, a really important one is health. You're not going to see improved outcomes in education unless we work very closely with health. And that means working together with people who do research on health. We've got a lot to learn from them and working together with them.
Okay, thanks. And Pauline, to take the pressure off you a little bit in relation to your two colleagues on either side, Lucy or Fiona, any further thoughts? Those were three great questions about the impact of the research.
Well, I think just picking up on that important point of looking across at different sectors, because I think particularly if we're looking at this link between education and economic development, then a cross-sectoral approach becomes absolutely vital, because we're moving beyond the school system and beyond a system when we're talking about young people being able to make that transition successfully. And so I think one of the key things that we've been looking at is the models by which you can broker those cross-sectoral partnerships that bring together the social enterprises, that can put appropriate financing for young people on the table, that bring in the private sector in order to open up new business models and new opportunities for young people. Brokering those cross-sectoral partnerships, including with the government school system, to enable that transition is going to be absolutely fundamental to the success in really achieving those full returns on investing in education and enabling that successful transition. So I think this look at the cross-sectoral partnerships and how we position those to achieve those gains for young people in the transition from school is critical.